this is Amanda back with another video for Lavinia World's YouTube channel. I'm just going to start off with a stencil here from a Colorful Life Designs, and it is the Half Moon stencil. And I'm just taking some post-it note tape and masking off the edge here because this is kind of an odd sized stencil and I am a bit of a messy crafter. So I'm just going to take some blending brushes here and ink blend on a couple Distress Oxide colors. I'm starting off with Squeezed Lemonade for the center of the sun, and I'm just going to build up some color here. I do find that it is easier to build up the Oxide colors if you put a little bit on and then let it dry a little bit and then put on a little bit more. So I will be revisiting some of these colors. Moving on to a Mustard Seed, and I'm just going to blend that into the edge of the Squeezed Lemonade. I'm just going to put on a little bit more here, and then we'll be moving on to some orange colors. I'm just going to wipe off my brush to the side there, and then I'm going to move on to Carved Pumpkin, and I totally put my yellow brush into the orange, and I do not like to contaminate my brushes. I'm a little OCD like that, so I had to wipe that one off real good. So we're moving on to the Carved Pumpkin, and I'm just going to blend that into the edge of the Mustard Seed. We're just going to leave a little bit on the edges for our next color, which will be Spiced Marmalade. So I'm just going to blend this out a little bit. I'm trying to lay it on fairly thick, but like I said, I do find that if you just let the oxides soak in or dry a little bit, they will stack on and be a little bit brighter. Oh, I'm going to go back to the Mustard Seed here and blend that out a little bit more. And as you see, the color is building up a little bit more now. We're going to go back to the Squeezed Lemonade. Now you can see that the color is much brighter this time. We're going to go back to the Mustard Seed, put on a little bit more of that, and then we'll go back to the Carved Pumpkin again and put on some more of that. Then I'll be bringing out my Spiced Marmalade. Why I did it in this order, I have no idea. I never can tell what's going through my mind when I'm crafting. We're going to build up some of that Spiced Marmalade in the corners there on the very edges. And then I'm going to go back to the Squeezed Lemonade, build up some more color. You're not going to be able to probably completely cover up that black, and that's not really what I'm looking for on this design, but I do want a nice even blend and some decent saturation of the colors here. Going back to that Spiced Marmalade, a little bit of the Carved Pumpkin again. We're just going to keep going back and forth through the colors until I'm happy with my blend and happy with the colors that I've got. So I don't want the black to show through too much, but I do want, I do want the saturation of the colors to be pretty nice. So as you can see, I've got a decent saturation of the colors here and a good blend. So then I'm going to take another stencil by Colorful Life Designs. I did recently find this company and I love their stencils. This is Bubble Zone. So I'm just going to carefully tape the stencil to my paper here. I'll flip it over, and then I've got this this Brilliance Archival Pigment ink pad, and it's kind of a shimmery white color. It's called Moonlight White, and I picked it up at a garage sale or a secondhand store or something. That's why it's got that dollar sticker on it. I don't know. I've had it for a long time. It hasn't dried out, and it's kind of a cool pad. And I did lift up my stencil there because I considered masking off the sun area, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to dab this on and kind of overlap the two, but I'm going to do the pigment heavier on the blank side and then just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of fade it out. There we go. Fade it out over the sun. And I had no idea how cool that was going to look. I thought it would just kind of look all right, but it looked really cool when I removed this stencil. So I'm just going to finish up stenciling this through, and as you can see, I really heavily pad. Every time I went to the ink pad, I started off on the complete black side, and then, yeah, look how cool that looks. So anyway, I started off completely on the black side, and then as my ink kind of was lighter, you know, I didn't have as much ink on it, I would go over to the sun side. But look how cool that is. I had no idea how cool that was going to look. All right, so we've got the Moon Fairy, which I think has to be one of my favorite stamps. And then I used 2 out of the 3 Dancing Fairies set. We will use the 3rd fairy a little bit later. So I'm inking it up with some Versamark Clear Embossing ink. And we will be white heat embossing these on this black stenciled panel. I'm just going to finish up inking that, and then we're going to pour the white embossing powder on. And I am using white embossing powder, fine detail embossing powder, because some of the stamps are kind of fine detailed, from Simon Says Stamp, but you can use any embossing powder that you have. And then once I got done heat embossing that off screen, I decided to add some extra stars. So I'm just going to put some more of the anti-static powder tool on, and I'm just doing the side with the bubbles on it. And I'm taking the Star Group miniature stamp set, or not stamp set, but the stamp, and I'm just putting them kind of randomly here. And you're only going to see me stamp it 3 times, but after I heat set, I decided that I wanted more of them. So I went ahead and stamped some more off screen and heat set some more. And I'm going to be embossing these with Ranger Holographic embossing powder, which is one of my favorite embossing powders. And because it's kind of like a, words are hard today. It's kind of like a see-through embossing powder. It's not real noticeable, but yeah, as you can see the sparkle from it, but it's not like in your face. So I really like it. I think it's kind of a pretty effect. So then I decided that I wanted to use the new glitter that everybody has been hearing about from Lavinia World. So, but the only glue pen I have is this Zig glue pen in the chisel tip. And I suggest that if you're going to do this, I suggest that you use a finer nib pen. Or at least if you're going to do it with a stamp that's got smaller areas like this one. So this was kind of a mess, and I do have to admit I'm really not a glitter person unless it's like in an embossing powder or like in a Nouveau glitter pen or somehow contained glitter. I really don't do loose glitter, but this glitter is really pretty. It's holographic. It's very pretty. It really is. So I decided I was going to do this, even though this really isn't my thing. But I don't know that you want to do it this way, but it worked. It worked. It didn't really get in. I made a mess, but it worked. So I let the glitter dry, or let the glue dry with the glitter on there, and then I took a stencil brush and I kind of brushed it away so it didn't shed everywhere, because that is a thing that I do not like about glitter, is shedding. So then I decided that I was going to move on to the next area, and I was getting impatient with the glue not coming out exactly how I wanted it to and not as fast as I wanted it to, so I pushed down on the glue pen and it did that, and I about had a heart attack. So I dabbed it up and it did get in that fairy's wing, which is not where I wanted it. So then I'm like, well crap, how am I going to deal with this, because it's a two-way glue pen and it's going to dry sticky. So I thought, okay, well, we'll deal with this later. So I decided to spread it into the little parts where I needed it to, because it didn't get everywhere that I needed it to. It just got where I didn't want it to, of course. So we're going to spread it into the little parts that I need it to, up into the crevices, and then you'll see how I kind of masked off the wing because I didn't want glitter in the wing. I had a different idea, which ended up not working, and you won't see it on camera anyway. But anyway, so then I took Post-it note tape and just kind of masked off this wing here because I didn't want glitter in the wing. Excuse me. And again, I poured the glitter over it, and I didn't realize where else it got. It kind of got everywhere else, and it stuck everywhere to my card, and we had a mess, and which, like I said, is not really what I like about glitter, but I managed. It really turned out pretty in the end, and I'm not going to show you all of this applying of the glitter because it was tedious and whatnot. So here we are. I've got it all over the moon, and I've let the glitter dry. Do let the glitter dry. Do not do that when it's wet. Do not take the brush and try to scrape it off when it's wet, because it will make a mess. Just ask me how I know. All right, so we're going to move on to the sentiment, and my camera stopped filming in the middle of this, so that's why my ink pad is sitting there on top of my sentiment. So I had to restart the camera. So I'm stamping the sentiment. I'm going to white heat emboss this with that same Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder. And then I heat set it off screen. And then I take out these MFT slanted sentiment strip dies that I love using. And this is where I figure out that it's really not long enough for that die. And then I realize that the sentiment strip, or the sentiment's too long for the card anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if the die would have really fit. And then I need to split it up into two strips because I have a vertical card and this would only fit on a horizontal card. So I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? So I had to heat emboss a second part of the sentiment so I could cut this in half. I mean, I guess I could have cut it with my scissors, but I really don't. I'm not good at that. I inevitably always cut it crooked, trust me. So I heat embossed the second one. And you just see me brushing off the loose powder there. So then we got two strips here. And we are going to put them on my card. And I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to do this. I did have a little spot where I'd gotten some of that Zig glue. And so the top sentiment has to go right there, because I had gotten some glue on it and pilled my cardstock. So it's got to go right there to cover it up. If you know me, you know that I like to tell the truth and keep it real. I am covering up a mistake there, so I'm keeping it real and telling you that I am covering up a mistake there, even though you can't see it on camera. I am covering up a boo-boo. So then I'm just taking some Distress Collage Medium that I have decanted into a Nuvo Deluxe bottle, because those bottles are easier on my hands. I have some hand problems, so I'm kind of picky about glue bottles, and those glue bottles are very helpful for me. And the reason why I'm using the Distress Collage Medium is because I'm gluing this onto some glitter cardstock from Craft Perfect, and we all know that glitter cardstock is sometimes hard to glue onto. So I find the Distress Collage Medium works well for that. And I did cut the center of my glitter cardstock out, so I wasn't wasting all that beautiful glitter cardstock. And the Craft Perfect glitter cardstock does not shed, so I do like that. And nobody's going to see that it's cut out. Nobody's going to know that I cut the center of that out. So I'm just going to glue that down to my card panel now. And I am switching to the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive now, because I don't need the collage medium for that. We're just going to get that all glued up and glue it onto my card base. So I do want to take this minute here to remind you that all the supplies that I use will be down in my description box below. I will link to the Lavinia products that I used, And if you choose to follow me on my personal YouTube channel or social media outlets, those links will also be down in the description box below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Lavinia World channel. It would be greatly appreciated. So I'm just going to pop these sentiment strips up on some foam tape real quick here. And we're just about getting to the end of this video. I will be stamping on the inside. For those of you that do not know me, I do stamp and decorate the insides of my cards almost always. I'm not 100% on that, but almost always. So I'm just going to pop these up real quick, and then we will move on to the inside of the card. And the reason that I stamp the insides of my cards is not only because it's a nice surprise to the recipient, but it's also because I am not a woman of many words. So I sometimes struggle writing personal sentiments. So I find that it helps with that big blank white open space. If I don't write a whole lot on the inside of my card, then it doesn't seem like it's well, that's a beautiful card, but then it's white and open on the inside. So I find that distracts a little bit from, a beautiful birthday card that just says have a great day. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but if you do, just stamp a little bit on the inside, or do like this, take a little strip from that you cut off from the panel or whatever. Just a little decoration tends to distract a little bit from a beautiful birthday card that just says have a great day. So here's the finished card. I hope that you enjoyed my project today, and like I said, don't forget to subscribe to the Lavinia World channel. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to follow me on my social media and YouTube channel, my links will be down in the description box below. And as always, have a great day.